everyone, and welcome back to Spooky Book Club. Today I'm wearing my comfy clothes. I've got my 80s mullet dude heavy metal sweatshirt on, adult beverage, and I'm just feeling cozy today. I am ready to do a little book review and discussion. Today we are reviewing and discussing the book of the month for February, which was called The Ghost Tree. There's a lot to talk about with this one. Anyway. So where was I? If you're looking for the spooky book options for March, that is a whole separate video, but it's out today as well. Before I get into it, I'm gonna quickly go over how we kind of do things around here, since I did see some comments last Spooky Book Club video. I did see some comments that there are some new people. So hey, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the first book if you're new. So just really quick how we do the review and discussion for now. I am open for any other ideas that we come up with as this kind of goes on. I am open to have this discussion situation evolve. But for now, what we kind of do is I will first kind of give a general review of the book. So just a quick description and kind of just say whether or not I enjoyed it. So I kind of just do a general, really quick review. Then we go ahead and get into the discussion, which has all of the spoilers, and I like to keep it super lax. I'll talk about things that stood out to me in the book, characters, things that I liked, things I had beef with, almost like we're all in a room together discussing the book and maybe sipping on our beverages and talking about whatever parts we want to talk about. From there, in the comment section, you can either do your own review, ask any questions that you have for other people, like what did you think about this, or if you want to do more traditional book club style questions, you can ask them in the comments and I'll reply and other people reply, or you can just bring up your favorite parts, your favorite characters, anything that stood out to you, or if I missed something, whatever it is. But I will say, if you're here for the review, maybe avoid the comments, because the comment section does have a lot of spoilers in there. So I wouldn't scroll down to the comments if you're just here for the general review. So anyways, I'm just gonna jump right into this review. So the book of the month for February was The Ghost Tree by, who was it? Christina Henry. That's who it was. So just a general overview. The main storyline was kind of revolved around these two teenage girls who really love going to this ghost tree, and it's a place that they've met since they were little girls and hung out there. And now they are growing up, they're entering high school, and their interests are kind of changing and they're growing apart a little bit. And then one of the girls in that little duo, her dad was murdered. So now two more bodies come up murdered. And they don't know where the girls came from. They're not from the town. No one recognizes them. So, but then somehow the town, everyone just seems to kind of forget about it really quickly, and no one really gives it a proper investigation, or these mysterious deaths are happening, like murders, not just deaths, like straight murders, and nothing really happens. They don't really do anything about it, and everyone just forgets about it and carries on with their lives. And then in the meantime, there's a new cop in town who is trying to figure out why no one really is focusing on these murders and what's going on in the town and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a general description. So I really enjoyed this book because there were a lot of different elements of this book that I feel like could have been too much, but it was just the right amount of different genres in one book that I feel like it worked. So to be more specific, it had elements of a murder mystery, but then there were also elements of supernatural, but not too much to where it became sci-fi or fantasy or anything like that. Also, there were elements of serial killer kind of story, but also mixed in with a YA kind of novel, like a young adult novel. So, but not too much, once again, to where there were still very mature topics and things happening, and a lot of detailed kind of gore in some aspects, but once again, not too much. But also, if you don't like any of that, but you like the 80s, it takes place in the 80s. So there's that whole element, but once again, not too much to where if you don't remember the 80s or don't know a whole lot about the 80s, it's not enough for you to get lost or not understand the story. So I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a really fun read. It has good spooky elements. It's not terrifying to where if you're looking for a book that's just gonna scare you to death, like you're gonna be under the covers just like, I don't know if I can keep reading this because it's so scary. This is not one of those books in my opinion, but I think it had the right amount of murder meets supernatural that I think it would still feed your spooky soul, but not scare you to death. It's not one of those books, so if you're expecting something that's really gonna scare you, this is definitely not the book. Not in my opinion, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit magical and a little bit murderous, this is a good one. All right, so that is pretty much all I have to say about that. So we're gonna move on to the discussion part, the spoilers. So if you haven't read the book yet, and I would go ahead and get off of here unless you want to hear the spoilers. If you want to hear the spoilers, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to give you a second to get off of here so that you don't have to hear the spoilers if you're wanting to read it. So anyways, okay, I'm going to take a sip of my wine while if you need to get out of here, although I hate being like, get out of here, but you know, also I don't want to ruin it. All right, let's get into it. Now that it's just us ghouls. All right, tell me, what did you think of the ghost tree? Let me know in the comments. I don't even know where to start. I have notes. So I feel like, okay, first of all, I really liked it. I was not expecting this book at all. I was not expecting a supernatural witch curse thing meets murder, serial killer kind of thing, meets monster story, meets YA, meets 80s teen movie kind of book. This one, like, I have a lot I want to talk about, but I don't know, I just don't know when to talk about it. The first thing I have is that it's so weird that Lauren and her brother both have some sort of psychic ability. And because Lauren got the headache and her brother said something about Mrs. Schneider screaming or whatnot. And I actually have another note that said that the boy was kind of creepy. Like in the sense that I was just imagining kind of like an Omen kind of character, or like an Omen meets Village of the Damned. If you saw Village of the Damned, if you haven't, don't even worry about it. It's like was it 90s? It's got Kirstie Alley in it. Anyways, Dallas and I always say we're gonna have kids that look like those kids because we're both blonde. They have like these bowl cuts and they're like these blonde kids that are just creepy. Anyways, that's what I was kind of thinking about, like his eyes glowing. All right, so then the bodies were found and that's when things started getting kind of weird. First of all, Mrs. Schneider was a whole mess. I thought for sure Mrs. Schneider was gonna try to put this on Sophia and blame her and say that she was trespassing and slapped her and all this stuff, but luckily that didn't happen. Another thing that stood out that was weird was the whole neighborhood they said was really empty and no one was around, and usually people were outside and during that time when they found the girls. Then Lauren goes to her grandma's and learns about this curse. The one disappointment I have with this book is I wish they wouldn't have mentioned the curse so early on. Like, I wish they would have saved that till the end, where I feel like where it was placed, it was more just information instead of a twist. So I like the twists, so I kind of wish it was a little bit later, but that's my main criticism about the book. But it didn't ruin the story for me. It just made it a little less psychological or a little less eerie for me because you knew it was a curse. I don't know if anyone else agrees. If you agree or disagree or whatnot, you can let me know in the comments if you want to chat about when we knew about the curse or knowing about the curse or whatever. But let's talk about Miranda and Lauren and then who we thought maybe the murderer was or the killer was or who was responsible for all these dead bodies. So Miranda's whole character, I just knew that Miranda was not gonna make it. It's like when you watch a scary movie and you just know who's gonna die first. I know Miranda didn't die first technically, but I just knew she was gonna die. Like, you know the characters that are gonna die. I just felt like I knew. Let me know in the comments if you thought Miranda was gonna die. I didn't think it was gonna happen the way it did. I thought at least Lauren would try to save her, but I just knew Miranda, she just was gonna die. Also, was anyone else out there confused about who the murderer was or who the monster was or whatever? But I didn't know if anyone else out there thought that, was it Jake? Is that his name? Jake, the boyfriend. Not David's the brother. Jake Hansen. I said he was being a creep, first of all. And I said, is he the one murdering people? And I guess that's my question. Did anyone else think that Jake was the monster? Because I think I kept getting confused. Like, first of all, it seemed to me that Jake was in a lot of convenient places First of all, he was outside of the woods when Lauren had her migraine. And yes, he worked at that shop outside of the woods, but wouldn't that be ultra convenient to work at a place that was close to where you were killing people, maybe, right? Even when Lauren was looking for the bodies out in the woods, or not, she wasn't looking for the bodies, she was looking for their backpacks or looking for blood stains and stuff. And then Jake miraculously shows up, kind of thing. But at the same time, I knew in the back of my mind that he was kind of bait, or maybe the author was wanting us to think that it was Jake, just to distract us. And I don't know if it was just me or I was just reading too fast. I kept thinking that Miranda, her secret boyfriend, was Jake. I don't know why I kept making that connection, but I kept thinking that she had lost her virginity to Jake. I don't know where I got that. I don't know if maybe there was like a scene before that happened where Jake was involved, or if Miranda had said that she saw Jake. I can't remember, but I thought it was Jake for a minute. And I don't know if you thought that. Let me know in the comments if you thought Jake was possibly the murderer, the monster in disguise. The way that Miranda was talking about this new boyfriend, it sounded like Jake. So I was shocked that it was the police officer that was flirting with Lauren's mom. What a creep. I did not think, don't get me wrong, I did think the police officer was a little weird. Was his name Hendrix? I thought he was really nice for checking in on Lauren, but then it kind of crossed over into something a little bit creepy. And then he was talking to her mom, so I kind of backed off that creepy vibe. And then it turns out he was a full-on creep, or was just the host for this monster. But regardless, I thought Jake the whole time was the host instead. So anyways, moving on. Speaking of Jake, the whole Jake and Lauren relationship was weird in itself. I know some people are gonna say it's like really creepy and totally inappropriate. And I'm not gonna disagree. I think it's totally illegal. That's for one. But it is a book and it's fictional, so I'm not gonna get too wrapped up into that. I think my main thing is it just wasn't really that believable of a relationship. It didn't seem like they were on the same level of maturity. She seemed a lot younger than her age, and he seemed a lot older for his age. And like, he seemed more of like an older brother type, which I know he kind of was when they were younger. And so I thought that the dynamic, the relationship just didn't mesh well. Moving on. Let's talk about the spooky parts of the book, because I feel like there were a couple good ones. The first spooky part that kind of got me was when the police officer was looking at the bodies, or what was it, Alejandro was looking at the bodies or the heads, and one of them talked to him and was like, help me find the other, or find the others, or whatever they said. That part, I'm just imagining in a movie what that would be like, and I feel like it'd be really creepy. I almost, in my mind, they were like whispering, which even made it creepier in my spooky ass brain of mine. Another element that was kind of spooky to me was when the IDs, when they found the bags in the woods, which, by the way, I kept thinking the bags were not gonna get to Alex. Whether it's the mayor, someone's gonna get these bags before Alex even gets to them, but luckily he got them. But another one was when the ID, like the face on the ID, talked to Lauren and was like, help us, or whatever. And really any part with David, like when he was doing the cartoons, then the mom walks in and sees what she thinks is her friend. All of a sudden it comes back to her that her friend was murdered, and just anything with David was pretty much spooky, in my opinion. Just because he had this kind of innocence to him, but was talking about things that were kind of spooky or scary or not good. So that whole thing when he's drawing out the cartoons or whatever. And then the part at the grandma's house when the mayor killed the grandma. And I knew something was gonna happen to her, which you can let me know in the comments if you thought so too. As soon as Lauren started believing this curse and what was going on, and she was like, I have to go see my grandma first thing tomorrow. I was like, you will go now. Is what I was thinking. I was like, you're gonna go to your grandma's now. But she had to go on that stupid date and then just didn't even get to talk to her grandma. So the mayor murdering the grandma, that was pretty intense. Other spooky part, or maybe it was just an intense part, was when the mom started remembering that Lauren was supposed to be the one that went out to the woods. The dad didn't allow that to happen. And how every parent knew that it was what they had to do, and then they'd forget about it, so they'd unlock their doors for their daughters. So that was a little bit of a twist that I didn't see coming. I thought it was just like the girls would leave their homes, and I also thought it would be one of those things where the parents didn't know that the girls had a boyfriend, like kind of what happened with Miranda, where she had a secret boyfriend. Her parents didn't know about it. No one really knew. So when Lauren's mom said that the parents just straight up opened the doors and let their daughters out and then locked the door, was on it. It was that like, oof, it got me good. All right, so now I think, now that I've been babbling on forever, I think we're finally to the end. Grandma gets murdered. Then Lauren goes to get her grandma. She gets dragged off by the mayor, who runs over Jake in the meantime. Then the brother, David, is over at the police officer's house because Mrs. Schneider got the whole neighborhood with torches out there. And in the meantime, the mayor drags Lauren out to the woods to sacrifice her and give her to this monster who wants to be with her forever because of her family curse and all that kind of stuff. And then what gets me about the ending part is the grandma had told the mayor, you don't want to see what she's capable of when her powers come to her. So I'm thinking, oh man, there's gonna be a fight, gonna be a battle between Lauren and the monster. And I have to say, the only other negative thing about this book, what was my first one that I had beef with? Oh, the curse being announced too early. I still believe that. So the ending is my other beef. I feel like it ended really quickly, and it was too easy for me. There was no battle, and you didn't get to see her magic. I mean, as much as I didn't want this to be a fantasy book, because I thought it was great the way it was, but I feel like if you're gonna put a little extra supernatural, a little extra fantasy in there, that fight scene would have been the time to do it. And like, she kind of just comes into her power. Something happened. I don't know if she just like blows the monster to smithereens, or maybe she morphs into something. It doesn't even have to be like that. Maybe she like gets a storm brewing, or maybe she like calls upon all of her dead ancestors to come up, go after this monster together, or I don't know, whatever you want to do. Because the grandma kind of led up to this by saying, oh, just wait until she comes into her power. And then all she did was throw a freaking ring down its throat. Like, that wasn't magic. Anyone could have done that. Jake could have done that. The police officer could have, anyone could have thrown that freaking ring. First of all, they shot the police officer, Hendricks or whatever his name was. And I was like, this cannot be how this monster dies, because grandma straight up said it. Grandma said that her powers would be unleashed. So I was like, he's gonna come back. But he really didn't. He kind of just died there, but then the monster came out. And I was like, oh, here we go. We got this monster with the claws. I'm ready. Where are the powers? Bring me the powers. And then she threw a freaking ring down its throat. That was it. And it died. At the end. And then her and Jake live happily ever after in the most awkward relationship and illegal relationship ever. Like, what? This is the end? This is how it is? So I was slightly disappointed in the end, even though I thoroughly enjoyed the book, and I really, really liked it, because I feel like we haven't read anything quite like this. Overall, I liked the supernatural aspects of it, mixed with the murder mystery aspects of it, mixed with the 80s aspect of it. I didn't talk about that, but I really liked the 80s part. Anyways, that's kind of that. I think I'm done. I think I talked about everything I need to talk about. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Let me know in the comments if you want to respond to anything I talked about. I don't even know the tangents I just went on. If you want to respond to anything I talked about, or if I missed anything. Anyways, hope you're enjoying book club. And don't forget, if you wanted to vote for the book for this month, for March, you can head over to the community tab and vote right now for which book you want to read. And yeah, yes, feel free to respond to anything I talked about. or anything that stood out to you, or anything I missed, or if you wanted to dive deeper into any of the topics or things that I mentioned, that too, just go at it down in the comments. We'll chit chat and hang out. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up, say hey ghoul hey down in the comments, because you know I love talking to you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.